And I'm just going to start with a real softball. How would you describe the Yang foreign policy doctrine, and how would that doctrine apply to Crimea, Hong Kong, and Greenland?
Wow. So we've just come up with a Yang doctrine, which is the test to see whether we would intervene militarily in a foreign theater. And so the test is, does this meet a vital national interest of the United States or avert a humanitarian disaster? Is there a clear timeline for the commitment? And are our allies willing to engage with us and help? And if you say yes to those three things, then it's something that I would be very open to military intervention. For the most part, I think America has overextended itself militarily over the last number of years. We've been in a constant state of armed conflict for at least 18 years, spent trillions of dollars. Downside is that many of our partners and allies now regard us as erratic and unreliable. Like, they don't know whether we're coming or going. So we need to become much more invested in our relationships and our partnerships. We need to invest in diplomacy, which is a massive win in terms of a cost-benefit analysis, where if you invest in it and people know that you're serious, then you can get a lot more done. I would be open to engaging with even leaders that we are not traditionally friendly with at all. That includes Kim Jong-un and any other dictator, because I think we get more done if we're willing to sit down with them. So that's a summary of my foreign policy principles. In terms of the specific elements, Greenland, don't buy it. Hong Kong, support the protesters to the extent that we can internationally, and urge restraint, certainly on the part of both the Hong Kong government and the Chinese government. And happily, the Chinese government has been staying out of it and listening to the Hong Kong government. And then Crimea is the trickiest in my view, because Crimea is being subject to Russian authoritarianism in a way that's very aggressive, and they're not part of NATO, so there isn't any Western obligation. I do feel some sort of desire to live up to some sort of obligation to a country that's clearly trying to move toward the West. But at this point right now, it wouldn't pass the test, let's put it that way, in terms of theater where we'd want to get engaged in beyond diplomacy and perhaps some economic measures.
So following up on the Crimea thing, would you be eager to reinstate Russia to the G8?
No, to the extent that's they're a carrot or a stick that we can use to improve treatment of people in Crimea, and also other issues that we have massive problems with in Russia, including the hacking of our democracy. I think that's front and center for most Americans. And what I would lead off with saying, look, I get it. America has messed with other people's elections. You've messed with our elections. But at this point, any interference in our democratic processes will be seen as an act of aggression and hostility, and we will react very, very unkindly. So anything we do with Russia, in my view, should be with that in mind, because if Americans can't trust our own elections, then it's going to be very, very hard for us to solve problems.